Welcome back again to our study today on the eternal state. Today we're going to answer the question, will hell be in the eternal state? Will it? Welcome to today's study. Today we're going to study the eternal state, and we're going to be looking at the eternal state to see if there is any sign of a hell or burning fire for eternity throughout the eternal state. We're going to go through the doctrines of the apostles on the end times. We will discuss Peter, Paul, and John and what they all said about the end times relative to the eternal state. They called it the new heavens and the new earth. That's what was called by Peter and John. But in Paul's case, in 1 Corinthians 15:24, he discusses how that Christ shall subdue all things, and after he has subdued all things and put everything under his feet, he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Father. Him delivering up the kingdom and putting all things under his feet is the annihilation of all things wicked. Such victory that he gained when he died on the cross. He rose again on the third day with power over everything. And so he puts all things under his feet finally. And this is taught by Peter in 2 Peter 3, and it's demonstrated by John in Revelation 20 and 10. Then after that, it comes the new heaven and the new earth. In the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 15 and 24, Paul describes the end. He says, then comes the end when Christ hath delivered up the kingdom, when he hath subdued and put all things under his feet. Then God will be all in all once he hath delivered up the kingdom. And that delivering up the kingdom and subduing all things under his feet is the same idea of Revelations 20 and 10 with the lake that burns with fire and brimstones, where all things are put away, they're thrown away into the lake that burns with fire and brimstones. This particular burning of things in the lake of fire and brimstones is the same thing that is spoken of by Peter in 2 Peter, chapter 3, when he talks about all of these things shall be burned up, they shall be done away with. And all of these things must be done away with before the new heaven and the earth ensues, because none of these things will be in the new heaven and the new earth. So let us follow in our study of the eternal state. And what we're trying to do is ask the question, answer this question, whether or not the judgment of the wicked is going to be eternal fire in hell, or is it going to be annihilation and being burned up, as discussed by Peter in 2 Peter chapter 3, and as shown by John in Revelation 20. One thing we must notice about the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, where it is found. It is found in Revelation 20. Revelation 20, 19:20 is the end of the world, the process of the end of the world, where all these things come to an end, where all these things are annihilated, where all these things are destroyed. Revelation 20. Then when we get to Revelation 21, is when we see the new heaven and the new earth that would not ensue before all of these things were destroyed. John says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth coming down from God out of heaven. The first heaven and the first earth fled away, and there was no more room for them. This passage is where we get the idea that all of those things would be annihilated, and there would be no room for any of that sin, sickness, death, not even judgment. There would be no room for it in the new heaven and the new earth, because the new heaven and the new earth will be full of the glory of God. The new heaven and the new earth is heaven. and there will be no hell in heaven. The new heaven and the new earth is the state that God was taking Adam to before the fall, which he redeems back by his death on the cross. He redeems back that state. And in Revelation 21 is the realization of that total redemption. The redemption of man back, the redemption of this earth back and glorified. And in it, there will be nothing defiled. Nothing defiled can enter into it. This is the reason why we can say of a surety that all of that is destroyed in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone. The lake that burns with fire and brimstone is the end of Adam's world, not the beginning of eternity. There's no part of the lake that will be in the eternal state. What we have just studied is how the new heaven and the new earth will not include anything from Adam's world. The new heaven and the new earth is heaven. It is the place where God intended to take Adam and finally does after Adam's world and Adam has been redeemed. There'll be nothing carried over from Adam's previous world. Sin, sickness, death, and all consequences and results, even judgment, will be destroyed in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone. Nothing of the old world will be brought into the new. We also discovered that in the apostles' teachings, they included the annihilation of all things and the end of the world. No apostle wrote anything about hell being in heaven. A lake where people are burning for eternity is not included in Revelation 21, 2 Peter 3, nor is it included in 1 Corinthians 15:24. We have the full scope of the apostles' doctrine in those scriptures, and there is no place where there's a mention of an eternal hell that burns forever.